Hello and welcome back to Jenna Gets Creative. We're doing another combination booktube video and digital art video. I'm going to be talking about this series, The War Stories of the Seven Troublesome Sisters by Sherrie Cronin, also known as Sherrie Cronin. I'm holding up this book because this is the only one I have in physical copy. Everything else I've read on the e-reader, but we are going to talk about the whole series so far. There are 4 books at this point. 5th book is coming out in January. And I just did a blog post with the review for the 4th book on Monday, so yeah, that's what we're talking about. I wanted to get one more book video in before the end of the month. If you're not here for the art that's happening over there, then I will have timestamps in the description box down below, and that should break up the timeline. You can go ahead and skip through this intro ramble thing. If you're new here, by the way, hi! My name is Jenna. I am a freelance editor / illustrator. I run a book review blog. See? Right here. There it is. And I like to upload here on YouTube twice a week. Ideally Tuesdays and Fridays. Sometimes it ends up being Wednesdays and Fridays. Most of the time I am doing traditional art. It's top-down view, and either I'm reviewing the art supplies or doing a challenge or whatever, or I'm just drawing whatever I want so that I can take that voiceover time to talk about something else, something going on in the world, some important topic that I just love to geek out about, something like that. I am part of a collaboration group, the Art Addicts Alliance, so you will see at least one collaboration every single month, and I do have my own art challenge, the No Box Art Box Challenge, so you'll see a lot of that as well. If any of that sounds like your kind of content, then hey, hit the subscribe button before you leave, help me out, and if everybody watching could hit the like button, leave a comment, that kind of stuff, help me appease the algorithm overlord, that would be great. That would be totally awesome. We are doing really good on watch hours suddenly, so I might start teasing those giveaways again, hint hint. And if you're wondering what this art over here is, I will link to, I'm starting a playlist now for digital art. If this is way in the future, if you're not watching this as a new video, there might be a lot more in there, but just sift back to the older 2 videos. The first one, I explain what I'm doing with these horse pieces, and the second one, I just kind of reference to it, but you can see the progression. I am doing these for a set of online games where we have fake horses. A lot of people misuse actual photos of horses in these games, or they'll just not visually represent these fake horses at all, which is fine, but that's boring. So I and several other people, we're doing artwork to represent our horses instead. That's what's going on. So all of these books start off with "She's the one who," and then it's some identifying thing about the sister who features in the book. The 4th one that just recently came out that I reviewed on the blog on Monday is "She's the One Who Doesn't Say Much." That is the 4th book, so I will talk about it last in the sequence here before I talk about what's coming up with the series. Let's talk about the 1st book first and go in order. I'm reading my blog posts on the blog, so you probably can't see that too well, but there we go. The 1st book, "She's the One Who Thinks Too Much." This is the story of the eldest of these 7 sisters. They are all named after rocks. Their dad's really into geology, so he's named them all after rocks. She's Ryalgar. I have no idea if that one's a made-up rock or name or not, but like the rest of them I recognize, and this one I don't. This is set in Ilari. So this series, it's historical fantasy, and it's kind of somewhere between high and low fantasy in terms of talking about proper fantasy. If you're not really deep into the genres, high fantasy is set in a world completely invented by the author. Low fantasy takes place in this world. Low fantasy tends to be urban fantasy, it tends to be dark fantasy, that kind of thing, but it's also historical fantasy. In this case, we are set in the realm of Ilari, and this is an imaginary place in far eastern Europe that exists only in the alternate history of Earth. You will be visiting it sometime in the 1200s. That's what's going on. We are facing Mongol horde invasion in this series, to give you an idea of what's going on. Ryalgar is the oldest sister. She falls in love with the prince, and this prince can't be with her like they would like to be. He has to marry another noble, a princess, and join two principalities together with this union, and he just kind of was like, hey, we can still see each other on the side. Like, she's gonna see her lover on the side, so I'm gonna see my lover on the side. So she decides to go off and join the Velka, which are the, like, witch doctor ladies of this country. Very, very heavily inspired by modern understanding of Wicca. And so, yeah, she just kind of goes off into the forest with the Velka. And she is seeing this prince on the side, and she's learning under the tutelage of her grandmother, who she thought up until recently was dead because her mother holds a grudge against her mother-in-law. And when she discovers that the Mongols are going to invade and that the military is planning to sacrifice the outer regions, counties, whatever you want to call them, she's like, well, you know, the woods the Velka live in, it's bordered by these lands that you're planning to sacrifice. That's a problem. My family lives in the farmland that you're planning to sacrifice. That's a problem. We're gonna work out how to help you, whether you want it or not. That's how this series was set up. Raelgar is leading this mission of the witch doctor ladies, the Velka, leading a peasant militia, a peasant uprising to take over, supplement, possibly replace military efforts defending against the impending Mongol invasion. I rated this book 4 out of 5 stars. It was interesting. It was a bit of a chore to get through it on time on the schedule when I first read it, and it was like, I kind of have to give minor spoilers because all of the books so far are companion novels. They're written on the same timeline, so you are going to hear some stuff from one book that spoils another book. So I'll just say that this takes us from the preamble introducing whichever sister the book is focusing on up until the first battle as the Mongol horde comes in. And I expect, I'll talk more about it, but I expect once we get through all of these 7 sisters, then we're actually going to fight this war. And if we don't, I will be very disappointed. When I read the first one, when I read She's the One Who Thinks Too Much, I was like, this felt like a whole lot of build-up and there's no payoff. I hope that the next one is the payoff, and we find out if they're successful or not. On to book 2. Book 2, She's the One Who Cares Too Much. This is sister number 2. This is Coral. She also finds a prince to marry. This prince doesn't want to be faithful after she's got a baby on the way. So they remain married to save face, but they're not living together. And she was a teacher before all this happened, but then she had to go into hiding to be safe with her new baby, who is a princeling, an heir. It turns out that she has this special ability, this 1 in a million, it's a wives' tale, it happens so rarely, ability that when she speaks, people listen, people calm down, people feel compelled to do what she wants them to do, if she's willing it to happen. This is the crux, the important moment in this whole series where Raelgar, going out on her trips away from the Velka's wood, conferring with people, but also connecting, checking in with her family, she discovers that, hey, my sister has a useful power. Let's see if that can be helpful to the Velka. And then we find out that there are other sisters with other powers. Each of them has some sort of different mystical ability that's going to help. Coral is very important to the effort because they want for her to be able to affect the horses that the Mongols are riding in on. She wants to scare the horses, she wants to compel the horses to run away, she wants to compel some of the riders, some of the invading Mongols to run away and be scared and maybe not push through. Overall, I was disappointed by the second book, by She's the One Who Cares Too Much, because I missed the memo that this would be a series of companion novels and cover exactly the same timeline. I didn't feel like we got enough that was new, and I didn't feel like Coral was a very interesting character. But I understood how important the story was, and having now read further into it, it definitely needs to be read before this one, number 3. I will talk about it in a second. I will tell you why. Also, interesting point, they are companion novels in that they're covering the same timeline, and for the most part the stories are interchangeable. I would say read the first book, read Ryalgar's story. She's the one who thinks too much first, because there's a lot of world building explanation, and particularly explanation of who and what the Velka are, that you're not going to get in the other ones. You do need to read that one first. The second book, She's the One Who Cares Too Much, I do think you need to read it before the third book, She's the One Who Gets in Fights, for one very specific reason. Other than that, whether you read 2 and 3 before or after you read book 4 really doesn't matter. Again, I will get to that. She's the One Who Cares Too Much, book 2, I also rated that 4 out of 5 stars, and that was like a it's on me kind of rating. I think my disappointment in that one was my own fault for not realizing what the book was and how the series was going to work. I didn't like Coral, I didn't connect with her, but I do feel she was well written and I understand why her story is being told. She's definitely an important character, and it's a middle book. It's an important middle book, you do need to get through it. So, third book, She's the One Who Gets in Fights. I have reviewed all of them with book tours so far, all of them with Goddess Fish Promotions, which is one of my favorite blog tour companies to work with. For some reason, on this tour, on the third book, Cronin actually mailed out physical copies of the book. It's on the smaller side for fantasy. It's a good book. It's beautiful. I love it. I want the rest of them on my shelf now, but I'm also kind of reluctant to go buy more books. My double stacked shelf. You can go check out the video where I reorganized it. That's also in my booktube playlist. This is the first one in the series that I have rated 5 stars. I absolutely loved it. This is sister number 3. Her name is Sulphur, and she is definitely the tomboy of the family. Whenever their father was away working on missions, whatever he was doing when they were all kids, she was the one picking up a sword, picking up a stick, picking up a rock, and defending her sisters and defending the farm and their livestock and their family. She is asexual, possibly mildly demisexual. There are 2 scenes in this book where she gets a little familiar with people, but like a true demisexual, it's very, very far into the relationship. It's after they've really bonded. It's not too explicit. It doesn't really evolve into much. Mostly asexual, and I love that. I love the casual representation. She has always wanted to be a soldier, a spadlu, and she gets to be one. But there's an explanation of how she gets to be one in the second book, and She's the One Who Cares Too Much. This is kind of seeing it come to fruition. She really wants to be in there. She impresses somebody. She gets to be a Mogul, which is a military prince, and it's interesting. She definitely fights to not have a alternate female princess type title. She's like, no, I earned this title. This is my title. You're gonna call me this. When she gets her title, when she gets all her powers, she gets to pick who she's bunking with, and she doesn't have to bunk in the shared barracks. And she ends up with her lesbian friend who she respects, and she ends up with this one other soldier she really gets along with, and he's a gay guy. So they all just kind of hang out together. They're a little gang of queers who are a little bit outcast and support each other. It is awesome. She is just the best character in the series so far. She's witty, she is strong, she's self-assured, she is absolutely not here for gender roles, and she is kind of being used as the middle ground between the Velka and the Spadlu in this plan, except they also kind of keep some things secret from her early on because they know that she's too honorable not to just immediately reveal it all. The reason I said you need to read this one after She's the One Who Cares Too Much is because her commanding officer is the unfaithful prince who Coral is married to, and she reveres him so much, and S.R. Cronin is such an amazing writer that when you read this one, you love this man, you respect him just like she does, and you see everything she sees in him. But just a book earlier, you hate his guts because he's the unfaithful man who doesn't want to be with Coral. And you understand exactly why he's so terrible and why Coral doesn't love him and why she's probably very conflicted about how good he is to Sulfur. I don't think it would hit the same in reverse. I don't think you can be as completely blindly on Coral's side mad at him once you respect him the way Sulfur does. So if you are reading through this series, some of it's intermixable, some of it is not. Read She's the One Who Cares Too Much before you read She's the One Who Gets in Fights. Moving on, the fourth book. She's the One Who Doesn't Say Much. This is the fourth book in the series. This is the most recently published. This is Olivine. She is the older of the twins in this family. Her sister Celestine will be book 5, publishing in January. Olivine, she is an artist, and that is all she wants to do. She has gone off into some more farther-reaching areas of the land of Ilari. She's convincing her family that actually she's courting this somewhat high-up family dude that they want her to, and then no, she's not, but she does have an artist boyfriend, and it's okay, and eventually this is gonna work out, and she is still gonna get married, don't worry. She's not just, you know, she's not disappearing like her sisters, and she's not gonna go marry an unfaithful man like her sisters. In secret, she's actually courting Rodan, who is of the Scrud people. I'm not sure if the comparison is intentional or not, but he really reminds me of Turtleheart, and his people really remind me of Turtleheart's people, Thorps, something like that, from Gregory Maguire's Wicked series, from his version of Oz. The glassblower, crafty, traveling people from Munch. I get that impression because he's humble, he's a craftsman, he's a wood carver. He needs to live alone in a hut where the wood he's working comes from in order to do his work, but he's very close to his community there, and they spend a lot of time in community halls, cooking together, living together in every way except actually, you know, having a bed under the same roof. And they're very, very nature-based, very community-based, very just like everybody has the one thing that they do. And they're very misunderstood by the cultures outside of them, the groups around them. They're a conquered people, and they're not happy about being a conquered people. They haven't really completely assimilated, but they're also very much not eager to get rid of the things that they have assimilated to. Like, for example, they have princes, they have an equivalent system because that was put on them when they were conquered by the Ilari people, and like that's not at all how their society worked before, but they're not going to give it up now. It's important to them now. Rodan and his people really reminded me of Turtleheart and his people from Maguire's version of Oz. So Olivine is courting him. She's an artist. She's trying to get her artwork into fancy shows, and in order to do that, they have to say that it's actually a combined, partnered effort between her and her common-law husband, because they have to say that they're married, and that's the only way to get her art appreciated and accepted. And she puts it in a show, and the guy organizing the show actually just outright puts Rodan's name on it and doesn't put her name on it at all. She's very mad about it. She's considering walking out and taking her art with her, and then they get this false alarm that the Mongols are invading. They're not yet, but there's that interruption. It's around this time that she discovers actually, you know, this talent that she's always had that has made her a better artist. It's called being a long eye. She has really, really good distance vision, and like that's made her a great artist because it's like having telescoping lenses, photo lenses as your eyes. But it's around this time that she finds out that she's actually an amazing archer because of this. Well, when she tells Ryalgar this, everything comes back to Ryalgar and Velka. Ryalgar's like, hey, well, some of the other Velka and I, we discovered that we have this ability push things with the power of our minds, kind of like telekinesis, but we can only push it. If you and other Long Eyes can, be our archers and we can push your arrows even further, they're going to ambush the incoming Mongols by shooting arrows way farther than an archer should be able to shoot them, so the Mongols don't even know where these arrows are coming from and can't find them to catch up with them. That's the role she has to play in this story. I also rated this one 5 stars. I really love it. This one is still my favorite, mostly because Sulfur is still my favorite, and this one was like the most action, the most new information since the first book. Olivine's story, she's the one who doesn't say much. I relate to Olivine so much as a person because I am an artist and I get it. And the kind of quiet life she wants to live, where she just has this person who she loves and who loves her, and they're together when they're together, and they're also off doing their own things and have their own places to do their own creative things. That sounds great. I really love the life that Olivine wants to live, and I hope that she gets to live it after this war is over. I think there's a lot of character progression in this book that we didn't get yet in the series. For example, she does have some very important conversations with her father that made her father more of a sympathetic character, more of a main character than I have felt that he was so far in this series. And I really love Rodan and his people. Like, I stopped to tell you all about his people. I'm sorry, I keep saying Rodan, it's Bodan. Bodan with a B. So the next book coming up, we're on the author's website now, she's the one who can't keep quiet. This one is coming out January 14th. I am sure I will be on the tour for this one too, and if for some reason I'm not, I'll be emailing Sherrie and going, hey, I want to review it. Send me a copy. I believe she's the one who is singing. I believe her power is something to do with her voice. And then after that, we will get to the 2 youngest sisters, Gypsum and Iolite. I'm definitely looking forward to the 5th book. I'm definitely looking forward to getting Celestine's story and really understanding what she's about and how her magic works and how she's important to this epic, but I really want to get to the younger 2 sisters, Gypsum and Iolite. Gypsum, she has run off, left everybody to join the Rexavi, which are very much a traveler, vagabond, tinker sort of group. Okay, the word that her name sounds like, that's very much who these people seem to be. They very much seem to be Romani type people. And they're planning to help in the war effort by distracting the incoming Mongol horde. So I'm really interested to read her story because I am so interested to spend a lot of time with the Rexavi to find out how they're represented in this world, just find out what they're up to. Iolite, she has some sort of developmental disorder, disease. I forget what it's called. It is definitely a made-up condition. Kinda seems like possibly a Down syndrome type situation because she's made out to be different in many ways. She's made out to have been not the healthiest child, kind of slow. She is off at school now and she is supposed to be finishing, so she's not completely incapacitated, but she has these episodes where she just kind of like absent seizure fades out and claims to see things, and she's gonna be helpful in this war effort because, as the Svadlu have found out, she's actually getting communication messages, seeing what the Mongols are seeing into their camps, seeing into their meetings. I'm not entirely sure if we're supposed to believe that she's communicating with them or if she's just getting that information in these visions. But that will also be an interesting story to read, to find out how this sort of disability is handled in Cronin's writing, to find out how she fits into this invented 13th century Eastern European world. And it'll be interesting to find out how much of a part she plays in this. I'm not sure if Gypsum and Iolite are going to have their own books or if they're going to be thrown together into one book. It's either going to be Gypsum book 6, Iolite book 7, or Gypsum and Iolite book 6 together. I'm not sure. The information isn't spelled out so much on the author's website yet because that's not the next upcoming book, probably not finished yet. I do hope that there are more books than that. I hope that after we have met all of the sisters and found out what everybody is doing at this time, I hope we do actually go to war and see the Mongols come and invade. I hope we... well, of course I hope the best for them. I want to see what becomes of Ilari and all of these people. If all 7 sisters survive, I will be both ecstatic and very angry, because that's not realistic, but I love them all. So far my least favorite is Coral, but she's also the only one so far who is a mother with a young child to watch over, so like it would be terrible to hope that she's the one who doesn't make it. This author is not afraid to kill characters, for sure. Character death has happened. I'm not sure which of the sisters would bite the bullet, but I hope one does, because I hope this doesn't fall into that trope in fantasy that all the main characters survive, don't worry about the main characters. Anyway, this turned out to be a long one. If you have not checked out my reviews of these books on the blog, definitely go do that. I'll link to the most recent one at the very least, and I do have links to the other ones within that post right up at the top, so they're not hard to find. I might link all 4 separately in the description to this video down below. Who knows? Maybe. I don't know. You know, you're watching. I've already done it at this point. If you're looking for more to watch, I've got some suggestions up on the left side of the screen now. Don't forget to like, comment, maybe even subscribe, and if you like living life creatively, whatever that means to you, I'd love to have you along for the ride. Bye guys!